What's up, Half Centenarians? You are not going to believe we are in a home that probably looks more like a museum. There's so much beautiful, eclectic material and pictures and objects that are in here. But I digress because we're going to talk about so much more than just the wonderful ambiance that's here, but the wonderful person that I'm sitting next to. We have the lovely Lola, Gayle, Patrick-Odeen. Is that right?
That's
Yes,
perfect.
a lot of name for a small woman with a big personality. So go ahead and introduce us to your world, just a little bit right now. Let's the Half Centenarian community know who you are, and then we will continue the conversation.
Thank you, Marla. My name is Lola Gayle Patrick-Odeen, as Marla said, and I'm an HR business partner. I spent the first, I was going to say the first 21 years of my life, but it was not the first 21 years of my life. I started working in corporate America at the age of 21. I went into an HR role, and I literally grew up in corporate America. And I left corporate America after 21 years in my very early 40s to go into a co-ownership position in hospitality. My husband owned a beautiful restaurant called Lola in Manhattan, and I joined him in that venture looking to really grow the brand.
But that was a really prominent restaurant, was it not?
Yes, it was.
Yes. And this is Lola right here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, big personality, long name, big personality. But you, hospitality just kind of lends itself probably to the HR too, because you have to look out for people and make sure everyone's comfortable and all that. So how did that transition work for you? Not only as a 41-year-old that's been in corporate America for 21 years, but working with your husband. How was that?
That was an interesting transition.
Right.
And one of the things that made that work, really, I believe part of that was because of my experience in the HR space and recognizing that people partnering around the very same thing, those things don't necessarily work.
Oh.
So it's important to look to divide responsibilities, areas of focus. And so that's exactly what we did. My husband is a numbers guy, and he certainly understands all of the intricacies around a restaurant, but I'm bigger in the people space.
Gotcha.
So a lot of the issues around staffing, guest relations, the person who represented the face of the restaurant with the press and in any other area, that was me.
So before we even talk about where Lola's, I guess the restaurant itself is now, right? I wanted us to think through give us some backstory or just a little bit of a snippet into how significant that restaurant was in Manhattan.
Okay, so the restaurant began in the late 80s. Actually the early 80s, and my husband bought that restaurant out of bankruptcy in the very late 80s. They were the first people to begin gospel brunches in Manhattan. We got 2 stars from the New York Times, and so it was one of the few restaurants in a fine dining environment who are able to also incorporate live music into the concept. And I think that was one of the things that really separated us, and the focus on Cajun Creole cuisine, sometimes some sort of West Indian flavor baked in there as well. So in my humble opinion, as a West Indian woman myself, that flavor profile is one of the most exciting for me. And so this combination of ambiance, the space was gorgeous. And you've got a fine dining environment, but there's so much fun as well. And so,
but you had people, like a lot of prominent people that would come there, right?
Yes, from Meryl Streep to Danny DeVito to Madonna.
Right.
All of these people were a part of the equation, and we were featured in movies like The Best Man and Brown Sugar.
Wow.
All of the restaurant, when you look at those movies, all of the scenes that are taking place in restaurants are taking place at Lola.
Okay, so this is what I really like. Like, we here at the Half Centenarian channel, we in this community, we go through so much to move into wiser spaces, growing ourselves into becoming people who can help others move into this part of life. And we feel like you mature and you get all of this wonderful knowledge and you can share it. But not to just make it negative. But I love that when we talk right now, when we talked before, some people have loss as well. Not just a person that they lost, but you have this part of your life that you're having to start over. And so that's kind of where you found yourself as you started moving into your half centenarian years, right?
Yeah. So right now I'm about to embark on a brand new opportunity.
Because of what happening?
Because we lost our business and we lost everything as a result. So all of the retirement money, 401k money, the actual restaurant itself. As you can imagine, I made a bit of change when I worked for JP Morgan, and my husband was no slouch either. But always a strong focus on investing back into the business.
Right.
When we made the decision after our lease was up in Chelsea, and we made a decision to move the restaurant to Soho, unfortunately, within a very short period of time, we had first, let me say that we had done the legwork. We had gone to the community board and we'd gotten the blessing of the business arm of the community board, full on welcome. We started moving things forward.
To build a new Lola's, right?
Yes, the space, it was a build out.
Gotcha.
This space was a complete build out, $1.2 million, I believe, to build the whole thing out. And so we started the project, and just around about that time, there are huge posters that go up of me in the space, in the windows, announcing we're so proud, we're so excited, we're so happy. We have a great reputation, announcing that this restaurant is coming to Soho and what we're about. And 2 days later, there are flyers that are posted all over the neighborhood, warning the residents that the flyers actually said, neon green flyers, actually said, Soho residents, beware.
So you had this huge opposition against you guys coming in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lola Restaurant is looking to come into our community. If you don't come out to the community board meeting and block them, it will mean that you're in favor of devaluing your properties, bringing more noise, bringing more crime, etc. So,
so I can set the stage for that. When was this happening?
What year? So this was 2004.
Okay.
No, sorry. We closed Chelsea in 2004. This was about 2006.
Okay. So let's just go to this place where you are now super excited. You're getting ready to start this new venture in Soho. Opposition comes. You have to fight for your right? For lack of a better word, I'm just thinking about fighting for your right to just keep your vision going. All right? So you guys go from board to board. You start getting some victories. And then what happens? Like, you start getting people saying, yeah, sure, we can open it. We're good. And then
so we went before the community board, which is what we were now gearing up for this particular meeting, because liquor licenses are not transferable. So that's the entire reason why we're going before a community board.
Gotcha.
And then from there you go to the state liquor authority and they grant you their liquor license. So with all of that opposition in the neighborhood, which I felt was tinged with racism, actually not just tinged, we ran a petition as well. We got signatures supporting the business, and we relied on information from our from our clientele and people in that neighborhood, the community board there, and so on. And with all of that, we went to the state liquor authority, and They also started another campaign, whatever Lola wants, Lola must not get. They rented a bus. They bussed people down to the state liquor authority, and the room was packed. They told the state that Soho was under siege. They could not take another restaurant of this kind, of this size. And we presented who we were as well, stated the facts, and the state granted us the liquor license. We thought that was the end of it. But no, they decided to file a lawsuit. They took the state to the New York Supreme Court, accusing the state of being arbitrary and capricious in granting us the liquor license. So this fight became a protracted one.
Okay. So you get to this place, right, and you are just like, you pouring all your money into it. You still have the same, because you already had a Lola's before in Chelsea. And what is like, we're going to just transition this to over here. Well, all of that fight goes on. And I'm just trying to get us to that place that we understand that's when you start, you're using all of your finances. Your husband's using his finances. And everything that you guys have built has started to just crumble.
Yes, the lawyers, when you go before the New York Supreme Court and you go to a case that goes from the Supreme Court to the appellate division, that whole process is very expensive.
Right.
In addition to you're building a space out.
And you're still trying to keep your dream, your vision going.
There's a point where you begin paying rent, right?
That's right.
And so, 6 months had passed, whatever the time frame was for free rent had gone by, and we're still in this fight. And but we're determined, and we know that we're gonna win. At least I knew that in my heart that we were going to. We won at the appellate division. They ruled in our favor. The state they were required to give us the liquor license. All of these things happened. We started moving forward. But as you can imagine, it was 4.5 years by that time that we had been engaged in this lawsuit, and a number of different issues continue to come up. They continued to lie and misrepresent who we were. They were investigators from the state liquor authority in the business, unbeknownst to me.
Right.
They identified themselves on the 4th visit to let me know why they had been sent. They had been told that we were serving minors at the bar and playing live music. They had a ban put on the liquor license so that we could not run our concept. And so between so many different places in New York City and Soho where we were, can't tell you how many restaurants they are. What made our restaurant different is what they stopped from happening. And so the restaurants suffered greatly. We were always a destination restaurant. So with all of that, we fell behind on rent.
Yeah.
Now the landlord is coming after us. Now we have to fight the landlord. And that was the battle that we lost.
Okay. But after all of that stuff, you have to come back, you have to regroup. What do? You and your husband come together, and how do you get past that?
I still think that we're working past it. It was so devastating, all of that loss, especially for a man, as you can imagine. And the fear and everything. We lost the business in 2009 in the middle of a crash in the economy.
Right.
And it was very, very difficult for both of us to get work. And it's a terrifying time. I became severely depressed. So, I think it's important when horrific things happen, if you can find a place to pause and sort of confront yourself and confront what has happened and communicate, and do that effectively. Please do. We didn't do that.
Yeah.
Right? We still were trying to figure it all out and get to the next step.
But you're in uncharted waters, you know?
Yes.
But I love that you give that bit of advice, like just, especially if you're in it with someone.
Yes.
Like keep that line of communication open.
What's left is perspective. And after the falling down and dealing with depression and really finally getting back up, that's what was left. and look into who am I really, and what is it that I really want to achieve? Where do I want to leave a
Yeah.
mark? And so, as you can imagine, it's people.
Yeah.
The people space
Yeah.
is so critically important for me. And as I looked at the political landscape and looked in other spaces, and based on everything that I knew, all of my foray into and my understanding of racism and how it works in this country, and seeing how that works from a corporate perspective, and then having racism sort of come for me in my own venture, I felt like I wanted to do something where I sort of help people to move forward progressively.
Yeah.
So I created this idea of the Salon Lola, and I wanted to use a social environment to seduce people into a change paradigm, let's say. So that leans to some degree on my HR skills as a change agent, and my skills in hospitality as well. And I wanted to use the stage to combine thought leadership with artistic expression and creatively come at create programs where you have people engaged, not recognizing that it really is all about introducing them to better versions of themselves, if you will. So that's the work.
But that work, and I never to negate the idea of what happened to you. You know what's happening. Ultimately. But I remember talking to this wise person once that said, you have answers to people's problems. And I love that someone said that you can't have an impossible thought. The thought that you right. I'm gonna steal that, right? I'm gonna take that idea. She ain't even listening. But the idea is that you can't have an impossible thought. And I thought that was so prophetic, because when you are sitting here, everything we go through is for another reason.
Yes.
So you're going through that. Now you're picking up your bootstraps, and you're using all of that knowledge, even some of that pain, to say, you know what, we need answers to these types of problems. Thank you for allowing us to come and hear your story, because I'm telling you, one thing that this pandemic did for some people, it showed where you cannot rely on your job and you cannot rely on people, but you can rely on your own resolve.
That's right.
And that's what I hear you saying. Like, I might not be living my best life, my ultimate best life, but you're grateful. You have your husband, you have your place to stay, your livelihood, and your experiences.
And some perspective spiritually about what was most important. Because if you don't, then we go and we hang a rope.
Girl.
Or we jump off a cliff, or we do whatever.
Yeah.
Right? And so
it's important.
I feel that we can create something better than that for others.
That's right. I am so, again, amazingly grateful for your transparency and for helping those that are listening, because there's so much that we've gone through just in the present years. But you're bringing this from a perspective that was one of the bad times as well, 2009, and for your life right now. I can only wish you much success.
Thank you.
Open that conversation, because there's so many people who need to hear it. You know what I mean?
Yes. Our mantra for the Salon Lola.
What is it?
The Salon Lola experience a better you, a better me. The verb is love.
And I can't say anything else after that, you guys. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure.
Yes, my absolute pleasure to have this conversation with you, because it's needed.
Thank you.
It's very needed. And
Thank
you guys
you so
don't
much.
forget to like, follow, share, comment, and just definitely respect each other. Respect the conversation. And let's just continue to do this outside of this space. Salon Lola, I'm looking forward to it.
The verb is love.
The verb is love. Be safe, you guys. Be careful. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.